welcome to another tutorial video. Today's one is a little tutorial on using some of the Nuvo products from the brand new Coral Skies colour trend from Tonic. I've also done a Craft Perfect version of this video too, so if you're just interested in the Craft Perfect items from the colour trend, then there will be one of these tutorial videos for you as well. But if you want to see an in-depth look at the whole colour trend with everything included, with a bunch of different examples to show you how I've used it, then do check out my main unboxing video for the whole colour trend that I always do. But this one is sort of like a smaller version of the video. I'm going to run through, not necessarily the names, I'm just going to tell you what kind of new products are in the Nuvo portion of the new colour trend, and then I'm going to show you step by step how I made this really simple card using lots of Nuvo drops. It's not actually finished yet because I wanted a dried one to show you in the video to finally assemble the card, but this will be the card that I'm going to show you how I created that background. It's really easy to do, so stay tuned till the later portion of the video to see that. But I wanted to just run through what's in the Nuvo portion, and I have a feeling that these should have been in the Craft Perfect portion, but anyway, I'm putting them in the Nuvo portion. So you're getting two different ribbons within this colour trend. You're getting a new set of ink pads, and these are the Coral Skies set of ink pads because that's the name of the colour trend. There are two new normal embellishment mousses, a coral and a blue. You've got a brand new lovely blue glacier paste. You have got 4 new drops. You've got a glitter drop, you have got a jewel drop, you have got a gloss drop and a dream drop, which is what we'll be using in the video to create the background. And we'll also be using the new confetti, which is tiny little stars. They're fantastic, these ones. Then in that sort of confetti kind of theme, you're also getting new sequins in 3 different sizes and also a new glitter as well. We've also got 2 brand new embossing powders. One is slightly more opaque and this one is slightly more translucent and I think has a little bit of pearlescence to it as well. Then we've also got a brand new sparkle spray and what a lot of people I'm sure have been waiting for, a brand new Nuvo shimmer powder as well. So those are all of the items in the Nuvo section, and apparently some of the Craft Perfect, because I didn't realise that they should have been in the Craft Perfect video, items that are in the brand new Coral Skies colour trend, which is the 3rd colour trend of 2022 for Tonic. I think this is the final colour trend as well, so I think they're only doing 3 a year now. But I'll put all of this away and then I'll come back and I'll show you how quick and easy that gorgeous background is to create. So to create this background, I'm going to work on the Easy Clean mat. This is the one that came with my media mat. Sorry for the state of it, but I use it a lot, so it's had a lot of wear over the years. We're going to use this to create our project on, because if we go over the edge of the cardstock and we're working onto this, we can actually use some of those excess pieces or excess bits of drop that come off the edges. So I will show you how to use up any bits that come off the edge of the card as well. But we're going to be creating this background, which is a gorgeous scribble background of 3 of the new different drops, and then whilst they were still wet I sprinkled in some of the gorgeous star confetti in there as well. And then for the rest of this card, I've already got one made up, but for the rest of this card we're actually going to be using some of the new Craft Perfect cardstock. We've got the Coral Luster and the Italian Rose, and then also a white one as well. And we've got some of the vintage white vellum, which is the 150 GSM, but you can definitely just use the 100 as well. I just had a piece of this left over, so that's why I decided to use it. And this die that I've used, I think it was in one of the Vault sales recently, or just in one of their warehouse sales. But I have a feeling this came, you know when they used to do the magazines on the telly and they had like an extra die set that came with them? I have a feeling this went with one of those, but it's like a Christmas themed sort of die set, but it also has all round kind of elements in there, and I really like the sentiment joy and love, and it was a really nice bold sentiment that I thought would offset the sort of busy background, so that's why I went with this one. I'm sorry if it's not available anymore, but I'm sure there's a lot of you that have this in your stash or something similar as well, because I know there has been similar kind of sentiments like this within the Tonic range as well. So hopefully you've got something that would work for this kind of a card as your focal element, but we'll come on to sticking all of those together later. But first of all, we want to make this background. So I have got a couple of pieces of card here. We're going to do the actual background on one, and then on the other piece, I'm going to show you if we get anything off the edge of the card, I'll show you how you can actually utilise that and turn it into some kind of background as well. It'll be definitely very organic and new to me too, because it's just going to be completely random kind of effect. So I don't know what we're going to get, but I wanted to show you a way of using up any excess that comes off the edges. And these pieces of card are slightly bigger than the actual size of the background that I want, because sometimes you end up with a blob at the edge, or it doesn't look quite as nice right up to the edges. So I find working with a piece that's just slightly bigger than what you want is really a nice way to kind of do it. And your guillotine will cut through your drops when they're dry as well, so you don't have to worry about trimming it down as well. So first of all, we want our first piece of card, and we're going to take the 3 pinky coloured drops from the new colour trend, which are Watermelon Wonder, which is the jewel drop, Seashell Pink, which is the gloss drop, and then Fruit Cocktail, which is the dream drop. And we're literally just going to shake the bottle so that we're going to get a lot of the product down into the nozzle of the bottle. And then we're literally just going to like scribble all over the background. It doesn't matter where you go, what kind of pattern you do this in. We're going to do it 3 times with the different colours, so we can kind of fill in areas that we miss with the first or second colour as well. So I'm going to go with the jewel drop first, then I think the gloss drop, and then finish with the gorgeous dream drop. So I will zoom you in a little bit closer. Hopefully it will stay in focus. Actually, it might not want to focus that close in. Okay, so we're going to go with the jewel drop first, and we're going to start off the page and literally just scribble, doodle. Now it kind of depends what temperature of an environment that you live in, where you live in the world and stuff, to how well this might work. And it also kind of depends on the drop type as well. So you kind of want your drops to be, I'd say warm, but actually I haven't got the heating on yet, and it is a little bit chilly in here, but they're still decently kind of warm. I suppose it's because they're new ones, but if you're doing this with older drops that you've had a little while, just sort of like warm them up in your hand a little bit first, you know, play around with them, hold them all whilst you're doing something else, or, you know, watching something, just to warm them up a little bit, and you should get a better kind of result like this. But you might get sort of sputtering and stuff as well, but I think it adds to the background, so I don't mind that kind of effect happens. So we're going to go in with the gloss drop next, and see, this one is a little bit more spluttery, so it could just also be the drop type as well. Some of them will probably work better than others, but just any kind of random squiggly pattern, doesn't matter that it breaks up, because I do think that looks quite nice. And we are gonna put some confetti on there as well, so you can also aim your confetti to areas that you're not as keen on too. And also with this background, you don't have to just do this background and leave it 3-dimensional and raised like this. You could do the background, take another one, squash it and pull it off and get a different effect as well. I am just going to do the one that I've already created to show you how to do that, but you could definitely do the squash kind of background as well, like the Nuvo squish background, which I did in my first tutorial video. Now we're going to go in with the dream drops as well, and actually on that one I went all swirly like this, but I kind of feel like maybe a linear of the dream drop would look quite nice, so I'm going to see if I can get that to sort of work. So we're going to go off the card first and then try and go backwards and forwards in a kind of linear fashion. I'm not sure that really works, but it's a different kind of effect. If you don't like the look of it, you know not to do that now, but I don't mind that actually. It looks alright. If there's any areas you feel like need more, you can go back and just add like a strip of some more in there. Maybe it needs a little bit heavier coverage in some places. You can just add a little bit extra in there. So I quite like how that's looking. And if you don't like swirly kind of patterns, or maybe you want to make it look a little bit more on the masculine side, you could just do the stripes for the whole thing with all 3 colours. You can bring in more than 3 colours as well. You don't have to just stick to 3. Because there was 3 pinky ones in this colour trend, I just went with the 3 pinky ones. You can bring in as many colours as you want for this kind of technique. Then, whilst they are still nice and wet, we can bring in some of our confetti. Now, not all of this is going to stick because some of it is just going to fall in the white areas of the cardstock, but you can be as liberal as you like with this because some of it is not going to stick, and you can just tip it back into the pot once your background is dry, so you're not going to waste any of the bits that don't stick anywhere. But you're literally just picking out a few at a time, sprinkling them wherever you feel like you don't like the pattern as much, or that you want that kind of focus to sort of pull you into that area. So I think I like that, how that is. So we can lift this up and we've got our beautiful background effect there. You can see how that differs from the first one. I think I've probably been a bit more heavy-handed, and because we did the linear effect, it's kind of really changed the feel of the background as well. This one's very abstract. It kind of reminds me of like Picasso or something, whereas this almost looks like treble clefs on like the stave of music, because we've got those straight bits going in there. So you can get different results even using the same colours, just applying them in different kind of directions and patterns as well. So I'm going to put that to the side to dry. Then we've got this little sort of remnant of stuff left on our mat. So I would usually, if I had drops like this, I'd usually go, okay, I'll bring in like some glacier paste, some mousses, maybe a sparkle spray, all that kind of stuff, and mop this up and make a cool wishy-washy kind of background. But actually, I want to know what this would look like if we just dragged our card through it. So I'm actually going to focus on one half of the card, I think, and I'm going to see what kind of effect we get just by dragging it into what's left over of these drops. I mean, I don't know what this is going to look like because this is something I've not done before, and it's just more of an experiment. I actually like that. Okay, I'm picking up actually some of the Nuvo shimmer powder and possibly glitter or something that was on my mat beforehand, but I actually quite like the way that that's looking. That is some of the shimmer powder. I'd left one of the backgrounds to dry on here, so we've actually brought in another one of the Nuvo elements without even realising it. But I actually like how that's turning out. I think that looks really cool, actually. So just like for a clean and simple card, actually, you could just have this kind of almost like looks a bit like an old wall or something, and then you've got drips in there too, where some of the drops were sort of heavier and they caught onto it. But if you brought this sentiment in again, doesn't that still look really lovely, just with that little like grungy element to the top of the card? I really like that. And you could sprinkle in more of the confetti. It's picked up some of the confetti there, and this was just luck or serendipity, having some of that Nuvo shimmer powder still left on my mat. So that is the one from the colour trend, because that's the last one that I was using. But look how cool that looks. I think I might actually finish that card off like that, actually. I really like that. There you go, you've got a second tutorial in this video, so hopefully you like that too. I really do like that, actually. You could even do it from the bottom if you wanted to as well. I think both ways that looks nice. And because we have the ink pads in similar kind of colours within this colour trend as well, you could bring a little bit of stamping from this too. You could have some of those like long doodles or dangle kind of patterns coming down from the top, or a few little random scattered ones. All sorts of different things you could add to that to finish that off, but I really like that. That's a really cool way of using leftover drops on your easy clean mat. So that is that. Then to clean this off, because obviously in my sped up videos and stuff, I'm not always, I don't talk in them, and I don't show you all the cleaning up. I just sort of, you know, cut all of those bits out because they're boring to watch. So for cleaning off your mats like this, you could use a baby wipe, you could use a wet piece of towel, a bit of kitchen roll, microfiber cloth, however you kind of tend to clean things up. But you can also just bring in your water, and you could actually try and get another background out of this, to be honest, especially because I've got those little bits of the shimmer powder left over in there. But for the sake of the fact that I've already got about 30 backgrounds with all of these different colour trend colours on there, I will just wipe this up. But that is literally how you clean your mat off. And if you don't get to it whilst it is, you know, still a little bit damp, you can just leave that water on there for a little while, and it will clean off nicely. Or you can also, if you have this set, it's a Tim Holtz set that goes with the media mat. You don't get it with it, but you can buy it as an extra set, and it has has this little scraper in it and also a ruler that clips onto the side or like holds onto the side, so it kind of works like a T-square ruler. You can also use this scraper that comes in that set to help you get any really dried bits off of your Easy Clean mat, and also your glass mat as well. But I thought I'd just give you the tip of how to kind of clean that off too, just in case you've not seen anybody do that before, or you wondered how people would get their mat to clean again after techniques like that. So I know my mat is been through the wars, but it's much cleaner than it was now, and I've also cleaned off that Nuvo shimmer powder that was on there too. So that is kind of how you clean your Easy Clean mat, and you can see how easy it is to clean, hence the name as well. So let's bring in these bits and pieces that I've already die cut, and we've got a card blank and the dried background that I had already done before, but I actually think the one that I've already done, that I've put together, when this background is dry, I'm actually going to put that on there instead, because I really like that. Sorry, I've said that quite a few times, but I do really like that. So we're going to make this little topper sentiment to go on this card now. So the way I did that is I couldn't decide whether to use the mirror card or the pearlescent card, so I thought, well, why not use both and give myself a double shadow. So we're actually going to shadow this, but then we're going to add the white one on top and shadow that as well. So we're actually going to get like triple colours poking out the side, which I think looks really cool and just gives a different kind of look. And if you had used both colours of the colour trend, so if you'd gone with the coral and the navy kind of colours and you'd brought them both together, you could matte and layer or shadow this with the coral and the navy as well to bring both colours into your sentiment element too. Or if you'd used the glittery Nuvo drop, the blue glittery Nuvo drop in this background, that would work really nicely to tie it all together. So to do this, we are literally just going to take any glue bottle that has a fine tip. You can definitely use the Nuvo one as well. I just for so long had it next to me and knew that I couldn't use it in a video that I still always just grab my little bottle. But I know I can use it in a video now, but I still tend to grab the little bottle. But those small fine tip precision nozzles that you can get for your Nuvo glue bottles are just fantastic, and you can put them on any of these Nuvo drops from this colour trend as well. I did a whole video on the kind of drops that work with that fine tip nozzle as well, so do check that out if you're interested in putting a fine tip nozzle on any of your Nuvo drops, because you get an even finer application of your Nuvo drops for that kind of a background as well. So firstly, I'm going to shadow it onto the pearlescent cardstock, and I'm going to try and keep those horizontal lines like on top of each other, so the horizontal lines aren't shadowed, it's everything else that's shadowed. Then once that has stuck, we can put some more adhesive on the back, and we can put the next shadow layer on here. Tap off any excess. Then we're just gonna put that again, but we're kind of doing the same thing but shadowing the pearlescent layer with the mirror card. So we're kind of ignoring the white layer and we're shadowing the pearlescent layer with the mirror card. I just love how that looks. I think it just gives a different kind of look. If you've been shadowing your sentiments for years and you're kind of feeling like maybe it's sort of dating your cards, you know, in your own personal timeline, it's kind of making you feel like a card that you made 5 years ago or something, try adding in a second drop shadow, because I do think that that gives it a different kind of look and maybe would make it look more modern to your eye as well, compared to like older cards that you might have made. But that is our shadowed sentiment, which actually I think I've gone a bit more dramatic on the shadow. I quite like the slightly more dramatic effect actually. I think maybe with the pearlescent one I've gone a little bit more dramatic than I had on the original, but I like that. And then this die set does come with the circle to cut it out, so you could just cut a circle of vellum, but I'm always a bit too lazy, so I'm just going to stick it onto my piece of vellum and then cut around it. Whichever way you prefer, you know, is the perfect way to do it really. If you think about it whilst you're die cutting, then it's not too much of a hassle. But if you kind of think about it after you've already die cut everything and you've put the dies away and you've put your machine away, it's much easier to do it this way and just stick it onto the vellum and then we will cut around it. So let's get our small scissors. I find the little mini snips are good for this kind of thing. You might want to leave this to completely dry, or you can just be careful when you're cutting around it. And we can just trim that out. And there we've got our perfect little shadowed or double shadowed sentiment. If I hold that up really close, hopefully you can see that nicely. I really like that effect. I just think it's really different and gives a modern kind of a look as well. I really like that. So that is the sentiment that we're going to put on here. Now all we've got to do is decide, do we want the sentiment towards the top of the piece that way up or the top of the piece that way up? Like which portion? I think I actually like it that way the best. I like this portion down here. So because we've got multiple layers on here, I feel like I'm just going to stick this flat, but if you wanted to, you could definitely put your 3D foam on the back of there, and this is quite a good one actually. It's got quite wide letters on there, so it's easy to put 3D foam on, and because we've done that multiple shadow thing, you've actually made this bit wider, so it would fit a wider piece of 3D foam on there as well. But I quite like actually, because we've used a thicker vellum, I think sticking this down flat is probably going to be the best bet, because you'll still be able to see the drops through that thicker vellum, whereas if we put it on 3D foam, the thicker vellum might completely obliterate the drops behind it. But you could have an experiment with different weights of vellum and different ways of adhering it as well, if you want to do it flat or three-dimensional. So we just want to put, maybe go slightly heavier handed with the glue, a few more extra large sort of blob bits so that we can stick to that texture of the Dream Drops and the Nuvo drops, because we've got a little bit more texture to compete with. So let's stick that like so. And then a great way of getting things like this to sort of stay stuck nicely is just to get a stack of your acrylic blocks and put them on top. So I've got some lovely big round ones. Make sure your acrylic block is clean before you do this though. And I'm just going to put a few of them on there and a couple of smaller ones to weigh that down. So I think that should be dry enough now, and then we can just add our finished panel to our card blank. So I'm going to use my Craft Perfect tissue tape, because it's my favourite for sticking anything big down. It holds really nice and well actually, even with central heating. I don't know if any of you have been around long enough to have seen a lot of my sped up videos where I used to put my double-sided tape on, and then I used to put glue on, especially on the corners as well. And a lot of people used to say, why do you put the double-sided tape and the glue? And a lot of the time it was because if you have the central heating on, often this can kind of like unstick and then you get a corner peeling on your card. So I'd often put the glue on there as well to help it stick better. But I haven't found that it actually happens with the Craft Perfect tape. It seems to be a really decently strong kind of tape that they actually stay stuck even when you've got the central heating on in the winter. So yeah, I don't seem to do that anymore. But if you have had that trouble, a little bit of glue on the corners really helps hold the corners down. But anyway, that is the card for this kind of tutorial. So I really hope you enjoyed a different kind of way that I'm pretty sure I haven't actually ever done on video before. I don't think I've even done a sped up video on it before, but I have done well over 1,000 videos now, so I could have done it and completely forgotten, but I don't think I've ever done this on a video before. So hopefully you enjoyed this different kind of way of using your Nuvo drops, and don't forget to try it out with some of your existing colours as well, because I know a lot of you, well, me in particular, if I didn't have to do these videos I would be like this, get precious over a new colour trend. You know, you feel like, oh, I've only just got it, I don't want to use it all up, and this kind of background, it doesn't use too much of your drops up, but it uses more than a few little Nuvo drops on a project. So if you want to try this technique, have a go with some of your older colours that you might have had for a little while, if you don't want to use some of your brand new colours from this colour trend as well. But I do think this colour trend works really nicely because you've got 3 similar colours with different finishes, which I think works really nicely mixed together. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial video. Don't forget, if you like these kind of tutorial videos, there is also one on the Craft Perfect side of this colour trend, showing you how to use up your scraps of Craft Perfect that you might have after you've done a lot of projects, die cutting bits and pieces out. And if you love my usual lengthy rabbiting on lots of samples unboxing video of a full colour trend that I usually do, don't worry, there will be that video as well. It's probably already gone up before this tutorial as well. So if you're watching this video somewhere else, if it's been shared somewhere, go to my channel and I'm sure it will be there waiting for you to watch as well. So thank you so much for watching, and affiliate links will be in the description box below the video as well if you want to get hold of anything. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!